Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf for IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Matrix Labs, the video number 70. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We are still working with the Purple Knight Active Directory Security Assessment Tool, which is a free tool that generates a report and some security indicators concerning your Active Directory. So we have stopped the last time at the Kerberos security indicators, and we are now discussing KRBTGT account with resource-based constraint delegation enabled. So we all know this account is very dangerous and very important, because this is the one responsible for generating and issuing and encrypting ticket grant tickets and ticket grant service tickets concerning the Kerberos. Okay, so this is very important account. Let's see if we try to make the AI tools discuss this topic, because actually this is very important. So we need to go to ChatGPT, and we will choose the O1 preview, which is a preview model which is uses reasoning more often in his answers, which I prefer more than 4O, and actually it gives a lot of details. So let's see if we try to get the prompt to explain that. So we all know here is the prompt that I use. We will take, this is the prompt, and we will tell him copy, and then we will go there and tell him paste, explain this topic. Okay, and then we will put the topic between two brackets, because we do this usually, or as we are always do. This is the security indicator title. We will put it in the prompt and then shift enter to take space, or to go one space down, and then we will take the description. Okay, here you go, and take the likelihood of compromise section, and then copy, and then ask ChatGPT, or paste it there and put quotas. Now this is the prompt. We will make Control A and Control C just to put it in cloud platform, and then we put it at Google Studio platform, which actually I didn't use a lot in the previous videos. We will use Gemini 1.5 Pro to see the answer, or to see if it worth the try or worth the effort to check this AI platform. Even though I don't I tried it a lot in the couple of times. Actually it was not that good. Anyway, so let's try and see the answer of ChatGPT o1, and then we will go to Claude and give it the same prompt and see what will be the answer. Then we will click like that, and then try to go to Google and give it the same prompt and see if it will explain it in a good way. Okay, let's go and see ChatGPT. Okay, so you see this is the answer, and he's giving us some URLs uh, to check later, and then we go to uh, Google Studio and see the answer. Okay, I will read it, the last one, but let's first see ChatGPT and see the answer of ChatGPT concerning this topic. Okay, so let's read it out loudly.
Understanding the KRB count with resource-based constrained delegation in Active Directory. Introduction. Welcome. As a junior IT administrator delving into Active Directory, it's essential to grasp both its capabilities and potential vulnerabilities. One advanced concept that has significant security implications is the KRBTT account with Resource-Based Constrained Delegation, RBCD, enabled. Let's break down what this means, how it works in AD, explore a real-world scenario, and highlight common pitfalls to avoid. What is the KRBTEGT account? In Active Directory, the K account is a special built-in account used by the Key Distribution Center KDC service for Kerberos authentication. Here's what you need to know. Role in Kerberos. The KRBT account acts as the service account for the KDC. It's responsible for encrypting and signing all Kerberos tickets within the domain. Security implications. Since it's central to authentication, any compromise of the KRBTT account can have severe security consequences, like allowing attackers to impersonate any user. Understanding Resource-Based Constrained Delegation, RBCD. RBCD is a feature introduced in Windows Server 2012 that enhances the Kerberos delegation model. Traditional delegation. Earlier, delegation was configured on the user or computer account that needed to delegate, user-computer-based. This had security risks because it could be overpermissive. Resource-based delegation. With RBCD, delegation is configured on the resource service that accepts the delegated credentials, specifying which accounts are allowed to delegate to it. Security benefits. This approach is more secure because it places control with the resource owner, reducing the risk of unauthorized delegation. How does this concept work in Active Directory? When RBCD is enabled on the KRBT account, one delegation configuration. An administrator or attacker sets the KRBTGT account to allow specific user or computer accounts to delegate to it. 2. Ticket request. The delegated account can request a ticket granting service, TGS, ticket to the KTG account on behalf of any user. 3. Ticket granting ticket creation. Using the TGS ticket, the delegated account can effectively create a TGT, which is like having a master key to the domain. 4. Implications. This allows the delegated account to impersonate any user, including domain administrators, leading to a potential golden ticket attack. Real-world scenario. Imagine the following situation. Company setup. You're managing an AD domain for a company where several services require delegation to function correctly, e.g., a web service accessing a backend database on behalf of users. Misconfiguration occurs. An administrator accidentally enables RBCD on the KRBTGT account instead of the intended service account. Attacker exploits vulnerability. An internal attacker notices the misconfiguration. They use their account, which has delegation rights to the KRBGT account, to request a TGS ticket for any user. They forge a TGT and impersonate a domain admin, gaining unauthorized access to sensitive systems and data. Outcome: the attacker now has free reign over the domain, and traditional security measures may not detect this breach promptly. Common pitfalls to avoid. 1. Accidental delegation to KRBGT. Pitfall: mistakenly setting delegation rights on the KRBGT account. Avoidance: always double-check the account you're configuring for delegation. Use precise naming conventions and documentation to prevent confusion. 2. Over-permissive delegation. Pitfall: granting delegation rights too broadly. Avoidance: apply the principle of least privilege. Only grant delegation rights to necessary accounts and services. 3. Lack of monitoring and auditing. Pitfall: not regularly auditing delegation settings and KRBT account configurations. Avoidance: implement regular audits using tools like PowerShell scripts or third-party solutions to check for unusual delegations. 4. Ignoring security updates and best practices. Pitfall: failing to stay updated on AD security practices. Avoidance: continuously educate yourself on AD security. Subscribe to security bulletins and participate in training. Mitigation strategies. Regular audits. Schedule periodic checks of delegation settings, especially on critical accounts like KRBT. Immediate action on detection. If you find RBCD enabled on the KRBT account, remove the delegation immediately. Consider resetting the KRBGT account password twice to invalidate any potentially compromised TGTs. Use security tools. Leverage AD monitoring tools that can alert you to changes in sensitive account configurations. Educate the team. Ensure all administrators understand the risks associated with delegation and the importance of proper configuration. Conclusion: Understanding how the KRBTGT account and RBCD interact is crucial for maintaining a secure Active Directory environment. Misconfigurations can lead to severe security breaches, but by being vigilant and adhering to best practices, you can protect your domain from potential attacks. Remember, always double-check delegation configurations. Limit delegation rights to what's necessary. Stay informed and proactive in monitoring your AD environment. By doing so, you'll significantly reduce the risk of compromise and enhance the overall security posture of your organization's Active Directory infrastructure. Additional Microsoft Docs. Configure Kerberos constrained delegation. docs.microsoft.com/NS/Windows Server Security /Kerberos/Kerberos-constrained delegation overview. Security blogs look up articles on Kerberos delegation vulnerabilities and mitigation techniques. Training courses. Consider taking advanced courses on Active Directory security to deepen your understanding.
Well, it seems to be good, but I think the example is not, or the real world example is not that deep. But anyway, it explains the topic so far so good, but I think there is a much better answer. If we go to Claude and see the explanation, maybe we will have another good example. So here, let's see the answer of Claude. Here is saying, let's break it down step by step. Basic concept first. The KRBTG account is like the master key maker in the Active Directory. It's a special service account that helps create and sign Kerberos tickets. Think of it as the mint that print legitimate money. Its signatures verify that the tickets are real. Normally, this account should never have any delegation set on it. Okay. So what is constrained or resource-based constrained delegation? It's like giving someone a limited power of attorney. Instead of saying Bob can act as anyone, you say Bob can act as specific users, but only for specific services. Okay. Okay, then we can go further. The resource itself is like a file server, controls who can act on behalf of others. Okay. Real world scenario. Let's see this setup. Imagine you are managing a company network. You have a web server and its backend or the web server is attached to a database server. So users need to connect to the web server and then connect to the database attached to this web server. Needs to access DB as different users. Compromised setup. Attacker's computer RBDC on KRBTG account can generate tickets as any user. So he has mistaken. So the resource-based constraint delegation should be set on the database server, and we will say that only the web server service account can talk to the database service account. So, or to talk to any service, or to talk to, I think we can here, or it's the only, or the service of web server is the only service that can talk to the database server services in general. So here we are defining on the database server which services can talk to it, to its services on the, so the database server has a lot of services on it. So who can talk to these services on the database server? It is the web server. Okay, so here mistakenly, instead of doing that on the database server, we have done it on the KRBTG service account. So here we can generate tickets as any user. So the one who can take control over this account can generate tickets for any user. Okay, here is what could happen. An attacker somehow gets admin rights. Try add RBCD to the KRBTG account pointing to their computer. Okay, so their computer will be responsible for talking to the KRBTG account and issue tickets or take tickets instead of the users or on behalf of the users. Now their computers can generate tickets pretending to be anyone. Okay, this is very, very critical. It's like giving someone the ability to print legitimate looking company ID badges. They could access anything, anyone. Very hard to detect once they are in. Common pitfalls. Say here, permission management. Don't grant domain admins rights widely. Leave delegation setting unchecked. Ignore regular security audits. So this you should not do. sorry guys, here is telling that you should not grant domain admins rights widely. This cannot be done practically, but what you can do that you can create users and give them only rights that is necessary to do their job, not to use the domain admin account in all of or to use it in most of your operations. You can delegate some of the admin rights or delegate some rights to some users, but do not use the domain admin account in all operations because it can be hacked. Okay. So what you should do, regular audit delegation setting, use tools like PowerShell to check unusual delegations, implement least privilege access, which what I was talking about, monitoring best practices. So here's sample PowerShell to check for delegation on KRBTG account. So this is the PowerShell command to see if we have any delegation on or resource-based constraint delegation on the KRBTG account. If this returns anything other than null or empty, investigate immediately. Protection measures, regular audits of AD delegation, monitoring for changes to KRBTG properties, using protected users groups for sensitive accounts, which is a very best practice, because if you put your domain admin account in this group, then no one can issue tickets or do anything on behalf of him. Okay, this is will not be done because the user account or the admin domain admin user account is in the protected users group. Okay, it will not it will prevent delegation, okay, on for the domain or delegation concerning the domain admin account. Okay, implementing tiered administration level or administration model, which is active directory tiering, which is a very good also best practice to control the access of resources in your active directory based on security levels. Okay, segmenting your network to security levels. Okay, so here is real prevention example. This is a script, regular audit script. It will check for delegation on the KRBTG account. If it is there, then he will give you warning, delegation found on KRBTG account. Then what he will do, he will go to, he will write the event. So he will write this in the event log, right? Event log name, security, source, AD audit, so and so. So he will log this in the event viewer, which is good, by the way. I think I didn't do this before, or I didn't see something like that before, but this is good to record that in the event viewer so we can return to it later. Okay, then remove unauthorized delegations. Set, so this is a script that will check for delegation, record it in the event viewer, and then remove the delegation. Very good. It is it has a lot of, or this script will do a lot of things in one step. First, we will see the delegation, we will remove the delegation, and we will document the delegation. Key takeaways for junior admins: think of the KRBTG account like your organization passport office. It should only issue passports tickets through proper channels. Any delegation on it, it's like giving outsider access to the passport printer. So very good example. Regular checks, make it a part of your weekly routine to check for unusual delegation. Set an automated monitoring, so you can take this script and put it in a scheduled task on the domain controller maybe, or on the domain controllers, and it will check for delegations and it will put it in the event viewer. And I think we can modify it to send an email to the domain admin. This is also one of the things. Or if you have a specialized tool or third-party tools to monitor the Active Directory and such events. There is a lot of actually tools in the market to do that. Okay, anyway, so we will continue. Response plan, have a documented process for what to do if you find an authorized delegation, which the script done actually by recording it in the event viewer. Know who to contact. Practice responding to these scenarios. Remember, when you see any delegation on the KRBTG account, treat it as a serious security incident, because this is not normally the case. No one make delegation to the KRBTG account. It's like finding someone installed a backdoor in your building security system. It needs immediate attention. This attack is particularly dangerous because It's relatively easy to spot if you are looking. Be but devastating if successful, can persist even after the initial attack is discovered. As a junior admin, you should learn to use monitoring tool, understand normal versus abnormal configuration, always have changes peer reviewed, keep good documentation, never be afraid to escalate suspicious findings. Very, very good answer, even though the example or the real world example is not that good, but the scripts introduced and the answer itself it's much better than ChatGPT o1. So if we go to uh, Gemini 1.5 Pro and see the answer, let's try to read it loudly and see if it is a good answer or not. So we can go there and try to read it and see if it's a good answer.
Understanding the basics. Kerberos. Imagine Kerberos as a ticketing system for your network. Users need tickets to access resources. The ticket booth is the key distribution center, KDC, which is part of your domain control. The KDC manages two important ticket types. Ticket granting ticket, TGT, this is like your initial ticket. You get it when you log in. It proves who you are. Service ticket, TGS, once you have a TGT, you can request specific service tickets to access resources like file shares or printers. KRB to GT account. This is the super user of your Kerberos realm. It's like the master key for the ticket booth. It's used to encrypt and sign TGTs. Never change the KRB to GT password manually. Use the built-in AD tools. Delegation. Sometimes, a service needs to access a resource on behalf of a user. For example, a web server might need to access a database using the user's credentials. Delegation grants the service this permission. Resource-based constrained delegation. RBCD, this is a newer, more secure type of delegation. Instead of the service owner configuring who the service can impersonate, the resource owner decides. This helps prevent the service from impersonating any user it wants. The attack. RBCD on KRBDGT. Normally, the KRBGT account should not have any delegation configured. Why? Because it's the ultimate authority for issuing TGTs. If an attacker configures RBCD on KRBDGT, they give a specific user or computer account the ability to request TGTs for any other user. This is effectively forging golden tickets. How it works in Active Directory. Compromise. An attacker gains domain admin privileges. Configuration. They configure RBCD on the KRBDGT account, targeting their own compromised user account. This setting allows the attacker's account to request TGTs on behalf of anyone. Forgery. Using tools like Mimikatz, they create a forged golden ticket with arbitrary user credentials and long validity periods. Access. They use this forged ticket to access any resource in the domain as any user, bypassing regular authentication checks. Real-world scenario. Imagine a financial institution. An attacker compromises a domain admin account. They configure RBCD on the KRBDGT account, delegating to their compromised account. Now, they can create a golden ticket for the CEO and access sensitive financial data without being detected easily. Common pitfalls to avoid. Regularly audit. Monitor the KRBGT account for any delegation configuration. Least privilege. Adhere to the principle of least privilege. Grant only necessary permissions to users and services. Domain admins shouldn't have more rights than they absolutely need. Monitor for suspicious activity. Look for unusual login patterns, access to sensitive data outside of normal working hours, and other anomalous behaviors. Secure admin accounts. Protect domain admin credentials with multi-factor authentication.
So we'll continue. Authentication and strong passwords regularly rotate these passwords. In short, RBDC on KRBTG account is serious security vulnerability that allows attackers to create golden tickets and impersonate any user. Regular auditing and strong security practices are crucial to prevent and detect this type of attack. Anyway, I think the answer is not that good. I don't like it. But let's try the prompt here that I used before. This is level 1 answer. Go to level 2 answer and see if he will advance his answer or give us a better one and a deep or detailed answer. So I think the answer is a little bit advanced, but if you go there and try to read it, okay, say level 2 exploitation and detection techniques. While the previous explanation covered the general concept, let's look at how an attacker might actually perform this attack. Obtain domain admin's account. This is a prerequisite. Common methods include exploiting vulnerabilities, phishing, or escalating privileges from a lower level from a low level compromise. RBDC configuration PowerShell. The attacker uses a PowerShell to configure the RBCD. Here is a simplified example. Do not run this. So this is the PowerShell command to delegate okay to the domain admin. Okay, I think here he is delegating the domain admin. So this is the SID of the attacker's account. So here is making the domain admin can issue or can talk to the KRBTG to issue tickets on behalf of users. And this is the SID. Anyway, so after that, this command adds the attacker's account SID to the MS allowed so on. So by adding his SID, so this is basically going to the KRBTG account to the delegation tab or the attributes tab and find this tab and add the account of the domain admin to this tab. All of this done by this PowerShell. This command, okay, so we have done this. This is a crucial step that grants the attacker account the ability to impersonate. Golden ticket creation. Mimikatz, this is a tool. A common tool is used for this. This command would look like this. Do not run this. Mimikatz Kerberos Golden domain.com, the SID. I think this is the SID of the domain admin and the user malicious user ID 500 group and so let's see here the explanation of this because actually I don't know what all of this will do. First of all, domain SID user ID groups are used to specify the target domain, domain SID, desired username, user ID, and group membership for the forged ticket. KRBTG is where the attacker supplies the NTLM hash of the KRBTG account obtained previously with Mimikatz ticket, so and so. So, injection into the current session allowing the attacker to access sources. So I think this is to impersonate a user, okay, or I think he is talking to the Kerberos to issue a ticket, okay, a ticket for a certain user to access a certain resource. Even though I do not understand that this can be also, you can ask any AI tools to explain this, but anyway, the answer seems to be more deep, but still I don't like the answer. Simply checking for RBDC on the KRBTG account is a good start, but sophisticated attackers might try to clean up their tracks. Here have more advanced detection methods, event log analysis. Look for event 4768, Kerberos authentication request, and event ID 4668. new process creation, correlating the attacker's account with TGT requests for other users. Security auditing enable auditing for Kerberos ticket operations and account management to track changes to the KRBG account. And tickets request. Advanced threat hunting use tools like SIEMs to analyze logs, identify unusual Kerberos activity, look for TGTs with usually longer lifespan or issued outside normal working hours. Bloodhound, this is a tool can visually map Active Directory relationships and help identify attack paths. An unusual connection to the KRBG account would be a strong indicator of compromise. And there is antiviruses. Modern security solution might detect the use of tools like Mimikatz, antivirus, or EDR solutions. Mitigation beyond the basics. Protect users groups. Adding critical accounts like domain admins to the protected users group can be mitigate the impact of golden tickets, which was also said by Claude and ChatGPT. Credential Guard. This is a feature helps protect the KRG account secrets from being extracted for or by malware. I don't think also this is applicable. Regular security assessment, conduct penetration testing and vulnerability scanning to identify remedied security weakness. Anyway, I think the answer is advanced, but still not good. If you go tell him to go to level 3, just to make sure if he will advance his answer. So here I think he's focusing upon the attack method. Okay, deep dives and countermeasures. These attributes, central attack stores. Okay, this is the constraint delegation attribute. Bypassing protected users and credential guards. So he's here saying how the attacker can bypass putting the domain admin accounts in the protected users and credential guard feature, or applying these features to the domain admin account. While protected user and credential guard significantly enhance security, determined attackers may try to bypass them. D-shadow or DC shadow. So this is a kind of attack that can be used to bypass these two. Golden ticket from DC sync. Okay, I think this a couple of methods, but actually he is not giving us an answer, I think, or a good answer. Here maybe he is going to more advanced protection methods by using PAM or privileged access management tools, microsegmentation your network. I think this is tiering for the Active Directory, and a couple of things. But anyway, I think the answer is not that good, so I don't see it's giving us more answers than we need. So if we go to Purple Knight and continue or see the other security indicators, but before that we need to do one thing, to tell him to give us hands-on exercise to practice this concept. Okay, so if you go there and tell him to give us this prompt, here you go. Let me give you, or here, let me see. Okay, let me give it the answer. So here you go. Okay, what is this one? Okay, so simply we can go and tell him here, create hands on exercise to explain this topic. Okay, and hands-on exercises or exercise. I think the prompt was hand-on exercises. Okay, we can tell him to get us more than one exercise. So we control C and then tell him or give it the prompt, and then we can go to Gemini 1.5 Pro, and then we can go to Claude and give it the same prompt. Here you go. So here is giving us an example, and then I'm curious to know if Gemini Pro will give us a good example to explain it. Okay, so okay, I'm simulating. Okay. Well, I think the example is not that good anyway, but let's see. So here we will go to the hands-on exercise and see if this is a good thing. Okay, let's first of all see here the answer. Okay, let's read it and see if it is that good.
Hands-on exercises. Understanding KRBTGT account with resource-based constrained delegation in Active Directory. As a junior IT administrator, getting practical experience is crucial to solidifying your understanding of Active Directory AD concepts. The following hands-on exercises are designed to help you grasp how the KRBTT account and resource-based constrained delegation RBCD interact, how misconfigurations can pose security risks, and how to properly configure and audit delegation settings. Before you begin, ensure
Okay, again, I don't know why the read out loudly feature is not working. Anyway, try to read it using the Copilot.
ChatGPT can make mistakes. Check important info.
Let's read it here from the beginning.
ChatGPT or prerequisites. Before you begin, ensure you have a test environment that includes a Windows server acting as a domain controller,
Just a moment, this voice is not that good. Okay, let's see if this will do.
Controller, DC, for an AD domain. At least 2 member servers or workstations joined to the domain. Administrative privileges on the domain. Basic knowledge of Active Directory users and computers, ADUC, PowerShell, and Kerberos authentication. Warning, perform these exercises in a controlled lab environment. Do not apply these steps in a production environment. Exercise 1, Exploring the KRBTGT account. Objective, understand the properties and significance of the KRBTGT account in AD. Steps. Open Active Directory users and computers, ADUC. Log into your domain controller. Navigate to Start Administrative Tools Active Directory users and computers. Locate the KRBTGT account. In the ADUC console, click on the user's container. Scroll down to find the KRBTGT account. Examine account properties. Right-click on the KRBTGT account and select Properties. Browse through the tabs, General, Account, Delegation, etc., to observe the default settings. Key observations. Note that the KRBTGT account is disabled by default. Observe that you cannot modify many of its properties, emphasizing its special role. Discussion. Question: why is the KRBTGT account disabled, yet functional? Answer: the KRBTGT account is a service account used by the KDC for Kerberos authentication. It's disabled in the sense that it cannot be used to log on interactively, but it functions behind the scenes for ticket encryption and decryption. Exercise 2, Configuring Resource-Based Constrained Delegation, RBCD. Objective: learn how to properly configure RBCD on a service account, not on the KRBTGT account. Scenario setup. Service account: create a service account named Web Service Account that will host a web application. Backend service: a server named DB Server hosting a database that the web application needs to access on behalf of users. Steps. Create service accounts. Web Service Account. In ADUC, right-click on the user's container New User. Create a user named Web Service Account. DB Service Account. Similarly, create a user named DB Service Account for the database service. Configure SPNs, service principal names. For Web Service Account, open an elevated PowerShell prompt. Run PowerShell. Copy code. Setsn http:/webserver.domain.com Web Service Account. For DB Service Account, run PowerShell. Copy code. Setsn smssqlsvc/dbserver.domain.com DB Service Account. Configure RBCD on DB Service Account. Open Active Directory Administrative Center, ADAC, or use ADUC with advanced features enabled. Navigate to DB Service Account Properties. Go to the Security tab Advanced. Click on Add, and set the principal to Web Service Account. In the permissions, select Allowed to authenticate. Verify delegation settings. Use PowerShell to check the MSDS allowed to actin be alphafot her identity attribute. PowerShell. Copy code. Get Aduser identity DB Service Account Properties MSDS allowed to actin be alphafot her identity. Discussion. Question: why do we configure RBCD on the DB Service Account and not on the Web Service Account? Answer: in RBCD, delegation is configured on the resource, service, account to specify which accounts are allowed to delegate to it. This places control with the resource owner. Exercise 3, Identifying Misconfigurations. Objective: recognize the risks of misconfiguring delegation on sensitive accounts like KRBTGT. Steps. Attempt to configure delegation on KRBTGT account. In ADUC, try to modify the delegation tab on the KRBTGT account. Observe any warnings or restrictions. Simulate misconfiguration. Note: do not actually apply delegation to the KRBTGT account. Instead, discuss what would happen if someone did. Discussion. Question: what are the potential consequences of enabling delegation on the KRBTGT account? Answer: it could allow an account to impersonate any user, leading to a severe security breach similar to a golden ticket attack. Question: why should delegation never be set on the KRBTGT account? Answer: because it undermines the security of the entire Kerberos authentication system within the domain. Exercise 4, Auditing Delegation Settings. Objective: learn how to audit and detect improper delegation settings using PowerShell. Steps. Use PowerShell to find accounts with RBCD configured. Run the following script to list accounts with the MSDS allowed to actin be alphafot her identity attribute set. PowerShell. Copy code. Import module Active Directory getted object filter MSDS allowed to actin be alphafot her identity ne $null properties MSDS allowed to actin be alphafot her identity select object name, object class. Analyze the results. Review the list to ensure that only expected accounts, like DB service account, have RBCD configured. Verify that the KRBTGT account is not listed. Set up regular audits. Create a scheduled task that runs the script periodically. Configure it to send alerts if any unexpected accounts have RBCD enabled. Discussion. Question: how does regular auditing help maintain AD security? Answer: it allows you to detect misconfigurations or unauthorized changes promptly, enabling you to take corrective action before any exploitation occurs. Exercise 5. Resetting the KRBTGT account password. Objective: understand how to reset the KRBTGT account password as part of mitigation strategies. Steps: learn about KRBTGT password reset. Research Microsoft's guidelines on resetting the KRBTGT account password. Simulate the process. Note: do not perform this step in your test environment unless necessary. The process involves resetting the password twice to invalidate existing TGTs. Document the procedure. Write down the steps required to reset the KRBTGT account password safely. Include considerations like potential impacts on services and how to communicate the change to the team. Discussion. Question: why is it necessary to reset the KRBTGT account password twice? Answer: Kerberos tickets are encrypted with one of the last two passwords. Resetting it twice ensures that all existing tickets are invalidated. Exercise 6. Implementing best practices. Objective: apply best practices to prevent misconfigurations related to delegation. Steps: review delegation policies. Ensure your organization has clear policies on who can configure delegation and how. Implement role-based access control, RBAC. Limit the ability to configure delegation to a small group of administrators. Use AD groups to manage permissions effectively. Educate team members. Prepare a brief presentation or document explaining the risks of improper delegation. Share it with your team to raise awareness. Discussion. Question: how does RBAC contribute to AD security? Answer: it ensures that only authorized personnel can make critical changes, reducing the risk of accidental or malicious misconfigurations. Conclusion. These exercises have guided you through understanding the KRBTGT account's role, configuring RBCD correctly, identifying potential misconfigurations, and implementing strategies to maintain a secure Active Directory environment. Regular practice and vigilance are key to preventing security risks associated with delegation in AD. Additional tips. Stay updated, keep abreast of the latest security updates and best practices from Microsoft. Use test environments, always test changes in a lab environment before applying them to production. Documentation, maintain thorough documentation of your AD configurations and changes. Resources for further learning. Microsoft documentation. Kerberos constrained delegation overview. Resetting the KRBTGT password. Books. Active Directory Administration Cookbook by Brian Svidergal et al. Online courses. Pluralsight and LinkedIn Learning offer courses on AD security and administration. By engaging with these hands-on exercises, you've taken a significant step toward mastering Active Directory's complexities and securing your organization's network infrastructure.
Perfect answer from my point of view. If we go to Claude and see his answer, if we go there, we will see here he is giving us prerequisites. We have Windows Server 2019 2022 for DC. We have 2 workstations or a workstation, Windows 10 or 11. Test domain, we need to create a domain, lab.local administrative access. Then we have virtual machines configuration. He is giving us even the configuration of the virtual machine. We have to give the domain control at least 4 GB of RAM, 2 cores, and the name of the domain, workstation, Windows 10 or 11, 4 GB, but I think for 11 we need to have more than 4, but the minimum is 4. He's talking correctly, yes. 4, 2 cores, and this is the name of the workstation. Examining the KRBTG account objective, understanding KRBTG account properties and normal state. Here we're having a PowerShell command, install Active Directory modules to get the properties of this KRBTG TGT service account, check for existing delegations, and then exporting the properties of this account to an XML file, okay, which is good, I think, for comparison maybe later. Okay, so let's go there. Learning points: identify normal properties of KRBTG account, understand what should not be present. So this is the ideal state. We need to study this state of, or the state for this account, to make sure this is the normal state. If there is any changes in this configuration, then this is the abnormal configuration or abnormal state. Okay, then monitoring for changes, objective setup, basic monitoring for KRBTGT account. We see here is focusing on using PowerShell commands to work with his labs, which is very good. I think this is good for IT administrators to frequently work with PowerShell commands. Anyway, this is a monitoring script. It will check for delegation on this service account. Then it will alert you delegation found on KRBTG account. It will put it in the event log. So it's basically copying from his previous answer. Okay, and then he is giving you to save the script. Okay, so you can use it later. Then we can create a schedule task. These are the commands to create a schedule task to run this PowerShell script. I think here he's running it every hour maybe, or okay, I think every hour, maybe one day or whatsoever. So this is also PowerShell command to create a schedule task to run this script. Giving you the details, very good. So this is a good exercise we can do. Then understanding exercise 3, RBCD attack simulation in isolated lab only. So he's now will simulate an attack. Now he is giving us the commands. We will create a test computer, I think, and I think we will join it to the domain maybe, or it is already there. I think we will put a computer and join the domain. Then we will get the SID of this computer, then create, okay, and then we will try to delegate or make this computer to talk to the KRBTG, I think. Let's see here. Also, he is taking the SID, okay, and by the last 2 lines, he will delegate, or he will make this computer talk to the KRBTG account, okay. Then we will see exercise 4, detection and response. Learn to detect and respond to unauthorized delegation. He will give us a detection script. Okay, I think here we have already this script. We have seen it before. So here what he is doing, he is checking the configuration of the KRBTG. If he find delegation, he will give you alert, and then he will export the current KRBTG account after enabling the delegation. So you can compare between the two, before delegation and after delegation. And I think here he is also removing, so this script will see the delegation, export the KRBTG account setting, and then he will remove this delegation. Okay, so good exercise. Implementing proactive control, set up preventive measures, create and configure SIM alerts. If you have an SIEM system, you can tell it to check or to monitor the events concerning the delegation on the KRBTG account. So this is first for the SIM or SIM alerts, and then we enable a couple of audit policies to monitor any changes in the directory services and in the account or user account management. For example, for creating a new computer account to delegate or to use it to delegate or to talk to the KRBTG account. And then we have safe configuration. Okay, so this too is good. I think SIM we need to have it as an XML, so he will export this configuration, and I think you need to import it to SIEM to make it monitor KRBTG account changes. And the audit policy, this is a script to enable the audit policy. So I think very good exercise. Best practices and safety guidelines. Never run attack simulation in production. Use isolated virtual networks. Reset lab environment after each exercise. Production environment protection. Implement change control procedures. Document. Use protected user groups of privilege accounts. Rigorous security audits. Document all changes. Monitoring guidelines. Set up real-time alerts. Use specialized programs to monitor the Active Directory. Regular review of security logs. Maintain incident response procedures. Test recovery procedure regularly. Incident response plan template. Okay, detection phase, run detection scripts, collect forensic data, document findings, contamination, remove unauthorized delegation, reset KRBTG account if necessary, which can be a good practice. Block suspected compromised resources, recovery, verify system integrity, implement additional controls, update documentation, lesson learned, review incident timeline, update procedures, additional training needs. Remember, these exercises are educational for education purpose only, always for organizational policies and procedures. Perfect answer from my point of view. Very perfect exercise. Okay, so now we have all of these, or this concept is discussed in details. If you go to the next one, write access to RBCD on DC. So here we are delegating not to a service, or we are not making resource-based constraint delegation on the KRBTG service, but on the domain controller computer object itself. The indicator looks for write access on RBCD for domain controllers to users who are not in domain admins, enterprise admins, or built-in groups. So he's seeking, or I think he will see the delegation. So you will go to the DC computer account and see who can control or can write to the DC computer object, especially the delegation tab. This setting enables configure RBC on domain controllers. An attacker is able to gain write access to RBDC for a resource, can cause the resource to impersonate any user except where delegation is explicitly disallowed. Write on RBDC is always a high privilege, but when it is on DC, the impact is substantial, as an attacker can delegate to a controlled resource as a privileged user and can abuse the DC services. So I think this is clear, and I think the other one also, write access to RBDC on KRBTG. I think this is maybe repeated. Okay, I think let's go further and see. This is the one. Okay, we have only about 3 indicators left, but let's try to take or make the AI tools explain the same or the security indicators and see if this is repeated or not. If you go there and go and take the prompt. Okay, here you go. Let's take it like this one. Okay, and by the way, I think we didn't list the answer of Gemini, but I think we have passed quickly on it, and I think it's not that good anyway. So we will copy the prompt. Here you go. let's take like this one and copy it, then put it like that, and remove all of the data like this. Here you go. So we can go and remove all of that. Okay, and then let's take the title, copy and put it there, Control V, and then Shift Enter, and then take the same and try to put it like that. Here you go. This is the explanation, and then we can put it like that, and then do like this, quotas, and then Control A to take all of the prompt, Control C, and then give it to ChatGPT, and then give it to Claude. If you go there and put it to Claude, and then enter, and then go to Gemini and do the same. So I think it is repeated, or it is a very, very simple concept, and I think let's go and see here. So the same, he's explaining RBDC, which was discussed before, and then right axis, so he's controlling the RBDC or this attribute on the DC computer account, not the KRBTG service account. So the same concept applies, okay, but not on the KRBTG service account, on the DC computer account, okay. So this will do a lot of problems. So now you can tell anyone to talk to all of the, so not only talking to the KRBTG service, but talk to all of the services on the DC. So this is something not that good, okay. So let's see what is the problem. Okay, so the same, it will talk to all of the services on the DC. So now you are telling the DC computer that this computer or other service accounts can talk to all of the services on the DC. I think this is the thing here. So he's telling you okay, this is the same attribute, okay. Okay, so let's go further. Okay, so the same, I think the same here, the company setup, this same, have the same example, the same pitfalls that was applied to the KRBTG service account, the same applies for the DC computer account. So we see the same answer, we don't see anything new, and we have a couple of URLs to explain best practices for Active Directory, Kerberos constraint delegation. So I don't think there will be a new answer. It's the same. So if we go and see the answer of Claude, I think I give him the answer. Maybe let's see here. So let's see here the answer. So this is the one. Okay, the same. So he's talking about the same as the KRBTG account. He said that domain admins can control this feature on DC, enterprise admins, built-in admins. Regular user has right access to RBDC, bad. Okay, real world scenario. So here is the script to check this if this property you can write to the computer. So it's checking who have access, who have the right access to the DC computer account objective in account object in the Active Directory. Should only show domain admins, enterprise admins, and systems. So this is different than the other answer. Attack scenario: attacker find misconfigured permissions, attackers create a computer account, attacker configure RBDC on DC to trust their computer, attacker can impersonate privileged users to the DC. So he can control all of the services, or he can talk to all of the services on the DC. The common pitfalls: giving broad permissions to service accounts. So here he will check for, let's see here, checking for permissions on the service account who have right permission, a computer, or who is delegated to the DC. He's getting the permissions. So I think this is relating to DC, or the permissions on the DC computer object. Monitoring practices: a script to check this right property on the DC. Check for unauthorized users. If he found users other than domain admins or enterprise admins or built-in administrators, will give you a warning. Very, very good script to detect something like that. Save the script. Regular audits: create an audit report. Here is he's filtering, getting the domain controllers, and so was currently checking one domain controller, I think. Now we will check all of the domain controllers to see the right property, who has the right permission on both DCs if you have a primary and additional domain controller. So I think the answer is very clear. We see a response plan: if unauthorized access is found, remove the permission for the unauthorized user from the DC compute object properties, and then get an incident report. I think this will create a text file and write to it remove the permissions for the user. So he is recording this in a text file, or he can put it in the event log if there is he have done this before. So okay, a couple of very good steps, and the same recommendations as KRBTG account. If you go there and try to see the answer of Gemini, I think he is not giving that much. The same, so they are all the same. If we tell him hands-on exercise, he will give us the same hand-on exercise, but here instead of changing the KRBTG accounts services, he will or the properties of that KRBTG account, he will change the DC computer object properties. Okay, if we go and tell him create hand-on exercise, let's go and take the prompt. Maybe there is different, or he will give us a different exercise, different than this one. If you go there and tell him copy, and then here you go, Control V. I think the same applies, but just to make sure if there is any differences in the exercises, maybe he will give us different details. Okay, so here we go, and then we go to yes, here you go. From the answer, it is the same as the answer of, or the same exercise as the answer for KRBTG account. Okay, seems to have the same steps. Okay, so we don't need to cover it anymore. If you go to ChatGPT, I think if we go further, I think also this should be the same. If you go further, okay. So here maybe he's adding the audit feature to check for changes for delegation on the active or on the domain controllers computer object properties. Okay, and I think it's not. I think this is to enable setup monitoring to detect changes to the delegation attribute on the domain controllers. So he will do that using a group policy. So okay, this seems to be good. Setup auditing on DC object, auditing, add everyone. So here he's making audit on. So he's activating the object, the feature, activate the auditing feature, and then you go to the computer and in the audit tab, tell him to audit everyone and apply to this distant computer objects, write all properties under it. So I think there is some differences. Check the security event log for event IDs related to directory server change. Okay, so I think this may be a little bit different. If we go further and try to see if there is anything, I think the same as I think the same as Claude. Maybe we have seen the answer. Seems to be the same. Okay, or I think here this seems to be the same. Okay, the answer is that. Okay, I think it's understandable, and the exercise seems to be more like Claude, and all of the answers explaining the concept or the lessons seems to be, or the exercise seems to be the same. So we will not go further in explaining it. So this is right access to remote based constraint, or sorry, restricted based constraint or resource based constraint delegation on DC, and the same but on KRBTG account. Okay, I think what is the difference between this and the previous or the answer? Let's go further here. Okay, so this is enabling the feature, and this is the right or enable or to have the option to enable or disable this feature. I think this is the differences. If you go there, right access to RBCD UKTG, OKK are not domain admins. Okay, so the same. Who has access to have right access to KRBTG account? Okay, so good. Then the last one is RC4 or DES encryption type are supported by domain controllers. So this is you know that the Kerberos tickets are encrypted, and the connection to the domain controller should be encrypted. So I think here is focusing upon the encryption algorithm should be strong. Okay, are considered insecure forms of encryption. These two are not secure. So various encryption. So anyway, so we can also take this. So here you have seen that I have already enabled these two as an encryption algorithm on my domain controller, so we need to disable them. Okay, so I think after that we have finished, but let me first I think this is very simple, but let me take it also and explain it using ChatGPT. If we go there and get the prompt again and see if we can explain this and to get more info, so we will go and take the prompt. Here you go, this is the prompt. You go like this and take all of the prompt. Sorry, this is not what I intended. So here you go, we will take like that We tell him edit and tell him Control A, then Control C, then cancel, and then put like this and change the prompt, okay, or the subject or the topic, and we'll put double quote, and then we'll go to this one and take the copy the subject and then Control V, then Shift Enter, and take the description. Okay, here we go, and all of these, and copy it and put it to ChatGPT like this one, and close it, and Control A, Control C, and let's see the answer, and do the same with Gemini. Control V, enter, and go to Claude and do the same, and let's see what will be the answer. This is the last explanation, okay, or the last security indicator in the Purple Night report. If you go there to ChatGPT, let's go further. So if you go and try to see the answer, here you go, let's read it loudly. Okay, so what are RC4 and DES encryption types? Kind of encryptions. So RC4 used with protocols like SSL and TLS and WIP in the past. Known vulnerabilities make it susceptible to cryptographic attacks. DES kind of algorithm, also vulnerable for attack. Why considered unsecure? Weakness. Both algorithms and vulnerabilities allow attackers to decrypt data without authorization. Susceptible to man-in-the-middle attack. Okay, so, and these are the vulnerabilities concerning these two encryption or encrypt algorithm. How does this concept work in Active Directory? AD uses the Kerberos protocol for authenticating users and services. Okay. Kerberos rely on encryption algorithm to secure authentication tickets. So these two protocols are used to encrypt the Kerberos tickets. Okay. Supported encryption types. We see this that most strong encryption algorithm that are used with the Kerberos. You should disable the other two, okay, or DS and RC4 to encrypt Kerberos tickets. We should use these AES-128 and AES-256. This can be done, I think, using group policy or something, or registry keys. So, okay, domain controller support. By default, DC may support other encryption like RC4 and DS. So this is what he have discovered, that I am already enabling this kind of encryptions, okay, on the two domain controllers, the primary and the additional. So I should disable them, RC4 and, or I think RC4, not DS, okay. So this should be disabled, okay. I think this will be disabled using a group policy, okay. So a scenario here, okay, the scenario seems not that complicated. Okay, pitfalls: do not use RC4 or DS, which is logic. Okay, so here how you can disable weak encryption types from the properties of the DC computer object and go to this attribute and exclude RC4 and DS. So this is how you can remove these two from the two DCs. Okay, so you run this command on the two DCs and we will put this value. Okay, this value 24 represents AES encryption types, AES-128 and AES-256. So you are removing RC4 and DS and you will put this two by using this partial command. Okay, so this is a good uh, thing, and okay, same blah blah blah, and how to check for RC4. This is a PowerShell command to check the encryption types, and if a value of 0 or including 1 or 4, 1 for DS and 4 for RC4 indicates for weak encryption. A value of 0 or including 1 or 4 indicates support for weak encryptions. 4 is RC4, 1 is DS or 0. Okay, so here is giving us the numbers 0, 1 is for DES, 4 is for RC4, 28 and 24, or 8 plus 16 will give us 24 to use this tool. Okay, so okay, okay, these are the documents. Okay, we'll stop now guys for a moment. So let's continue guys. Here we will see the answer of Claude concerning the RC4 and DS encryption algorithm. Think of encryption types like locks on your house. RC4 DS are like old locks that can be picked easily. AES is like a modern high security lock system. Domain controllers are like security checkpoints that need strong locks. Very good example. If we go further, you will see that here is the detailed breakdown. Encryption types in Active Directory: RC4 like a simple padlock, DS like a basic door lock, strong recommended encryptions. These are depreciated. Recommended: AES 128 like a high security lock, AES 256 like a bank vault lock. Real world scenario. Let's look at a typical workplace setup. Here, this is the PowerShell script to get the supported encryption types used by the DC or the domain controller. RC4 bad. If you have this as 0, very good. So if we have 0, this is bad. 2 is DS bad. 4 we have RC4. 8 and 16, which is AES 128. So good uh, PowerShell command. Attack scenario: weak encryption attack flow. Attacker setup in the man in the middle attack, or man in the middle in the network. DC uses weak encryption. Attacker captured authentication traffic using I think Wireshark or similar tools. Weak encryption is cracked. Attacker gains unauthorized access. Common pitfalls and prevention: don't enable weak encryption for legacy compatibility. Enabling weak encryption for legacy compatibility: if you have programs that support an old encryption algorithm, you should upgrade it or remove it completely from network as soon as possible. This is for the user. Okay, but I think this is, if this is a service account maybe. And also there is a kind of encryption used by the users for communicating with the maybe the domain controller. I think this is this line does that. I think do check for accounts using weak encryption. So here I think he's talking about so this algorithm is used by users and it is enabled by a group policy. So you, through the group policy, you will enable encryption types of encryption, okay, using a group policy, and then you will let users use this kind of encryption. I think this is because the user and the KDC should use the same encryption algorithm so they can communicate, decrypt and encrypt KDC, encrypt Kerberos tickets. So anyway, this is the recommendation, and then we will go to monitoring best practice. Here is a script 2. I like Claude answers, is very detailed and give us a lot of scripts. And actually, one of the strongest points of Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the encryption or the coding. So you can see here is get all. This is the supported encryption types, and then if he found someone or found a weak encryption algorithm, he will write it to the event log, which is a very good option. I didn't know that I can write custom events to the event log, which is a very good step here. If it is correct, I think it can be. Let me check something here. If you have something like that, and copy and see if we can, or this is supported by Microsoft. So there is, okay, seems here to we have write an event. Okay, so we have here, we have this parameter, so this is there. If we can see the parameter of the write event, so we write the event ID, the category, and so on. So examples, write an event to the application event log, my app, event 3001. Okay, so we can do something like that. Okay, so this is it. We can. So if we return back to the script, so this is the monitoring script, and then we have the best practice. I think this will apply the encryption or reinforce strong encryption. First he will get the domain functional level, then he will check. So this is a multiple layer script. First it will check the functional level of the domain, then he will check the password setting for the domain, or check Kerberos policy, password policy setting. Okay, check for accounts allowing weak encryption. Okay, I think this is good. Protection measures, regular auditing, again some PowerShell scripts to monitor the encryption types. And this is an encryption, this is the PowerShell script to enable the encryption of RC, disable RC4 and DS, and enable AES, I think 256 and RES or AES 128. Okay, so I think this is very simple. Things to remember, think of encryption like building security. We have seen this before. Response plan if weak encryption is found. Again, this is a PowerShell script to enable AES. So this seems to be good. The last thing we need to do is to get a hands-on exercise just to complete or see how this is done, or how we can enable and disable these encryptions, even though it was listed in this answer, but I prefer to get a hands-on exercise to have more details. If you go there and tell him we need a hands-on exercise, where is the hands-on exercise? So here we go. Where is the hands-on exercise? Here you go. There is hands-on exercise. Okay, so we'll copy and then paste here and press enter, and then go there and do the same, and then press enter. And then if you go to Gemini 15 Pro, let's see the answer. Okay, understanding the basics, RC4 or order encryption algorithm. Domain controller handles the authentication and manage access to resources. The problem, domain controllers handle sensitive authentication traffic. If we use weak encryption like RC4 or DS, attackers can exploit these vulnerabilities to intercept and decrypt this traffic. I think this is used to encrypt the tickets, okay, the authentication traffic. Okay, so he's very specific. These are for encrypting the authentication traffic. Okay, how it works: vulnerable configuration and control state RC4. Okay, man in the middle, decryption, impersonate. Okay, real world scenario. Okay, that seems to be a good explanation. Okay, so he say that AES can be used through group policy or activated through a group policy. Patch regularly, okay, with the latest vulnerabilities. monitor traffic, upgrade domain controllers. Okay, so here is adding if you need to upgrade your operating system to have available or more stronger encryption algorithm. Use strong password and multi-factor authentication. Even with a strong encryption, compromised password can be still in threat, so you need to have multi-factor authentication. Okay, seems to be good, but I think also the answer is not that much. Okay, if we go there, and here we have an exercise, and let's go to the exercise of ChatGPT. So let's go further. So here, if you go up, let's see here the answer. So uh, the answer seems to be very, very detailed and very, very well written. Okay, let's here you go. This is the exercise. As a junior IT, here is the prerequisites. Have a domain controller, domain joined client computer, Active Directory. You have to have the base knowledge of the following. Uh, perform this exercise in a controlled lab. Do not apply these steps in a production environment. So check for encryption types on domain controller. We can do this from log into the domain controller, see Active Directory users and computers console. Then in the console itself, in the view tab, we need to enable advanced features. Then go to the OU that contains the domain controllers. Click on the DC computer object and then properties, and go to the attribute tab and see the MSDS supported encryption types. Okay, this is how you can know the encryption types supported or used by the DC. Interpreting the numbers, so you will see numbers. You see the attribute is not set or set to 0. This means domain controller supports all available encryption types, including RC4 and DS. So we don't need that. We need only change it from 0 to 24, which is 8 plus 16. Okay, these are the two. Question: what does it mean that image encryption is not set or set to 0? It means that domain controller support all default encryption types, including weaker ones like RC4 and DS. Okay, so this is not correct attribute. We need to change it. Configuring the domain controller to support only strong encryption keys. This can be done by modifying the attribute, as we said before, change it to 24, or use PowerShell command to do so, to change the attribute. So we can change it manually through the graphical interface, Active Directory users and computers, or like with the PowerShell, which is faster. Replace the name of the DC, the DC name, on the two domain controllers, so you need to activate them on both. Force replication. If you have multiple domain controllers, ensure change replicate. So this is a good one. It was not stated in the previous answer. Okay, you need to replicate so the changes are applied. Use the Active Directory Sites and Services tool, or use the following command: rip admin. Okay, this will replicate the change. So all of the domain controllers will use the same encryption algorithm. Okay, restart the domain controller, optional but recommended. Some changes may require restart to take full effect. Okay, so this is very, very good example. What is important to restrict domain controller to use only strong encryption types? Okay, this is obvious. Verify the change and testing authentication. Okay, check the attribute. We will see it change it to 24 after using the PowerShell command. Use the Kerberos configuration manager. This is a tool I didn't use it before, but seems to be a Kerberos configuration manager tool from Microsoft. Let's see if this can be downloaded. Copy, and let's see how we can download it. So if you go from there, okay, Microsoft, soft Kerberos configuration manager. Here you go. So where is using Kerberos? So here, I think here is the section here for SQL Server. Can do the following: collect information about OS Microsoft SQL instance, always on available listeners, report all service principal names and delegation configuration on the server. So this is good to know if there is any delegation services that are delegated on the domain control. Downloading the tool, here is the tool, but this is for SQL servers or for any tool or for any server. Anyway, so that seems to be a legitimate tool. Okay. Then check the event log for certain events like 4768, 4769, Kerberos authentication events. Verify the encryption used are AES-128 and AES-256. Can confirm that clients are using AES encryption. This is a good question. By examining the event logs on domain controller and verify that the encryption types in the authentication event. I think also this encryption should be applied to all of the clients and servers. So they should use this encryption type to communicate with the. I don't think so. Oh, yes, should be enabled because the client will decrypt the TG tickets and encrypt the TG tickets, or from two sides, from the server and the client. So we should have this encryption type enabled and force it to be used by the clients and servers in the domain. So if we can go and continue. Discover any legacy systems that can be affected by removal of RC4. So some applications cannot use AES. Okay, so you can use RC4 or DS. So this should be discovered before forcing AES encryption. Identify systems not supporting AES. Use a script or a tool to scan for devices that might be using RC4 or DS. And giving you here a partial script to check users or service accounts that use this kind of encryption. So this will be configured on the service accounts for the applications. Okay, service accounts running the applications. Okay, analyze the result. Okay, you can upgrade or isolate. It's not immediately upgrading. It's not immediately impossible. Isolate these systems on the network. Temporary measures at the last resort. Consider enabling RC4 support temporarily for specific accounts while planning for an upgrade. Modify specific account setting. For accounts that may require temporary, you can set USDS encryption type. So this is on the user option on the users or the service account user service account. And go to the user properties, click account tab, and then check or uncheck options. So this is from the account tab, this option. Okay, question, what should you do if you find critical systems that only support RC4 DS? Plan to upgrade or replace those systems. In the interim, isolate them and apply compensating controls to minimize risk. Enforcing strong encryption via group policy. This is what we are talking about. We need to force encryption through the group policy, not through PowerShell or through modifying the encryption attribute to the DC. We can do this first on the domain controller. We will create a group policy and name it enforce a strong Kerberos encryption. Then we can configure this from computer configuration policies, Windows settings, security accounts, account policies, Kerberos, and then Kerberos encryption types. And if it is not available or you cannot see this group policy, you can configure it using a script or configure it using a registry key which can be applied or imported using the group policy preferences. Okay, so this is good. Apply to the appropriate OUs. So here he means with the appropriate OUs. I think this should be enabled on the domain controller and on the workstations. So this will be applied to the workstations and servers as well. Okay, to have both parties using the same encryption algorithm. Use rsop.msc or gpresults.h to generate a report. Okay. How does enforcing encryption types via group policy benefit the domain? It ensures consistent setting across all domain members, workstations and servers, and domain controllers, reducing the likelihood of misconfiguration. Exercise 6, monitoring and auditing for weak encryption type. So first we need to enable Kerberos logging or advanced Kerberos logging mapping. He is talking about more logging for the Kerberos through the registry key, and log level is set to 1 to create a key called log level 1. Restart the domain controller, open event viewer, navigate to Windows log system and security. Look for Kerberos related events, especially those indicating RC4 or DES. So he enabled advanced logging for Kerberos, and then he checked the event log for any events concerning the RC4 or DES encryption. Set up an audit policy. So this is further logging. Okay, enable auditing for Kerberos authentication service. So here, how this can be done through the group policy, and I think this will be applied to the domain controllers. This group policy will be applied to the OU that contains the domain controllers. Create alert using monitor tool or SIM solution to generate alerts when weak encryption is detected. Why it is important to monitor for use of weak encryption even after configuring setting to prevent it. Monitoring helps detect any misconfiguration or unauthorized changes that might re-enable weak encryption, so this is good for further monitoring. Okay, using ongoing security. Exercise 7, a very, very good exercise, understanding the security implications through a controlled simulation. So here he will simulate an attack, I think. So let's see. Uh, this is purely theoretical. He will not give us the steps, okay, but he is explaining it. We can push him or push the AI to give us the steps to do that. Okay, just to make sure that we are not using it in the wrong way. Okay, documenting, which is a very good thing, documenting and communicating changes. This should be changing the encryption types should be documented. Okay. So what? Notify relevant teams, update policies and procedures. Why documentation and communication important when making security changes? It ensures transparency, facilitates collaboration, and helps prevent issues due to unexpected changes. So this is the conclusion, and we have additional tips: backup, configuration, test thoroughly using a lab environment or virtual environment or test environment, continuous monitoring, stay informed, keep up to date your operating system and applications. These are the supported documents: Kerberos authentication, configure Kerberos encryption types, which is correct. Sometimes the AI give us wrong URLs, but this seems to be good. And some advices concerning uh, the weak or depreciated uh, encryption algorithm. And we see a very, very good exercise. If you go to Claude and see his answer, here you go, we can see here that he's talking about uh, also prerequisites, domain controller, 2 server members, 1 domain controller, 2 server members, 1 legacy server that contains a legacy program maybe using RC4, 1 client, and the domain. Okay, so we have the virtual machine configuration. We have Windows Server 2022, RAM and processor, IP address, member servers, server 1 and server 2, and legacy server, all of these IP addresses, the network, the workstation IP address. Then we will begin the exercise. Understand current encryption, just a query for the encryption used in the domain. This is partial script to do that, checking domain encryption setting. Okay, get domain info, some information about the domain functional level. Why is getting the domain functional level? I think this is related to maybe supporting different encryption types depending upon the functional level of the domain, maybe, I don't know. Get domain controller info, so he's collecting data concerning the domain. Then the encryption types. Okay, good one, and then export it to a CSV file, which is good. Okay, now we go to the next exercise, setting up encryption monitoring. This is script to monitor the encryption. And what at the end will do, he is monitoring and checking for all of these, and then if we have something weak encryption detected. Okay, so this is a script to monitor the encryption types in the domain. I think this should be run with a schedule task maybe to check all of these changes. All of this is done manually. If you have specialized programs to monitor that, that will be much easier. But this, if you have a small environment, you can use such a script, even though he's saying that you can run this through the schedule task. And these are the steps to create a schedule task using PowerShell. Then testing encryption configuration. Here he's saying that this should be in the lab only. Create test accounts with different encryption setting. Okay, which good. And try to log into the domain and see. Create test user with DS, user with RC4, user with AES. Okay, all of these are to create different users with different encryption algorithm. Test Kerberos types. Okay, what this will do? It will check. It will test Kerberos encryption types to see if it is supported or the supported uh, encryption types, and there here he will request a ticket for these users and see which one will pass. If all are passed, then we will use all of the encryptions here. Okay, support ticket, display current tickets. So if we have tickets that are issued using RC4, then we have a problem. And here he was saying that who is successful and who is not. So we can see here the tickets, the encryption used, and if it is successful, authenticated successfully or not. So for example, if you block RC4 and DS, then we will see authentication fail for this user. If they are allowed, we will see successfully authenticated with the username. Okay, that's good. Okay, it seems to be also a good exercise, which is better than ChatGPT. Learn to fix. Okay, this is the script to fix the encryption for these users that use RC4 and DES. Implementing strong encryption policies. So here what you need to do, we need to enable encryption, this type of encryptions using PowerShell. I think this is on the DC, okay, but this is not on the domain as a whole. Okay, so I think this is on the domain controller only. Okay, practice. So every AI tool gives a side of the answer, or give us answers that complete each other. So I think both exercises are good. Okay, and lessons learned and so on. So all of this exercise is good. You can also upgrade the answer to tell him go to level 2 answer to get more exercises, detailed exercises, and more deep level exercises. So by this we have reached the end of our video and the end of the Purple Night report. So we have finished this because we don't have a uh, hybrid environment. So this is the end of the video and the end of the Purple Night. Hope this journey uh, for exploring this important tool and report, hope it was good, and wait for the upcoming video. With God will, we will talk about another report which is called GPO Azure, which is a report specialized for discovering and fixing problems concerning the group policy. Wait for it. Thank you so much and have a nice day.